Continuing the strategy of thinking in black and white. With the color picture, take a moment to look at it and envision it in high contrast black and white. Now, many times when you have fine detail in the hair, such as you see here on this shot, let's look at the three channels, the red, the green, and the blue. You see there's not really a channel that's going to already give you that built-in mask. So what we're going to do is accentuate the color image, actually turn it into a black and white image to make the mask. This is the original shot by Mark Beckelman, and here's the composite that Mark created with that shot. And you can see the hair detail's been maintained and she's underwater. I'm going to show you how Mark made that mask. Now, definitely need the layers palette, and the info palette is going to be used in this. So, how can I turn this image into a contrasty black and white? There's a number of things to do. First of all, I'm going to start with an adjustment layer of curves. I want to make the background white, so I can use my white eyedropper, turn that white, and move my black slider down. Now I'm watching. I don't want to knock out too much detail. Don't want to go too far that you're losing the nice transitions of the hair. And by hitting F8, you can actually bring up the info palette. I can see I'm going to have to add a little bit of white contrast. Oh, but you want to be careful. You don't want to lose any detail when you're doing that. In fact, I'm going to back off and show you how you can do that selectively. So, let's see how that's looking. I'm going to uncheck preview. That's pretty good. I can still see the hair, and there's good separation between her hair and the background. I click OK. Now, we want to make her completely black and the background completely white. So I'm going to add a new layer, and holding down the Option or Alt key, choose Layer Merge Visible. You have to keep that Option Alt key down till Photoshop's done the merge. Now, let's turn this into a black and white image very quickly. The easiest way is to go Image, Adjust, Desaturate. So there's my black and white. And I'm working on layer, so the original image has not been affected. Now, get my lasso tool. Always check that the feather is 0. And I'm going to select inside the girl's hair, avoiding the transitions that you need for a good composite. And we can fill that with black. If black's your foreground color, Option Alt Delete to fill with black. Now, the hair is not black enough. We have to build in a transition. What I'm going to do is I'll start with a black brush and just paint over areas to soften away that cutaway look. I'm being careful not to go right next to where the hair is. I can't paint inside this area, but I'll show you another technique to darken down all that information. So let me just build in a little transition here. You can use a soft brush. I actually am just using the edge of the brush. The center of the brush is 100% density, and the edge of the brush lets you nudge in on those transitions and paint away those areas. Okay. Now, for very smooth-edged areas, like the straps of her goggles, I can't really paint that very well, but since it's a smooth edge, I can use the pen tool. Now, whenever you use the pen tool to outline a subject, always make sure that you're set to the second options, which is for paths. If you don't, you'll be drawing a shape and you'll get this odd color layer. So let me quickly outline the strap, because the nice thing about using the pen tool is it's very precise, and I can turn the path into a selection, which I'm going to do, dragging it down the select button and fill that with black. Good. And let's check the other side. Got a little strap going back here. And this is the type of work it takes to make a good mask. Option Delete. Now, we need to get this dark area darker. Let me check the info palette I can see that white background isn't white enough. You see how it reads 247? Let me change my second readout to grayscale. 4%. It really needs to be white. There's two tools that I really like to use to enhance the shadows and the highlights. And they're the dodge and burn tool. When you're doing this, you want to set your burn tool to shadows. And I usually work at about a 20% opacity using a Wacom tablet. And I'm just going to very gently run along the edges of her hair. And you can see that hair detail really coming out very, very nicely. Okay. And, let's get over here too. The nice thing about using the burn tool set to shadows is it's not darkening down the background. It's working on the specific tones, the dark tones. Okay, now to get the white background to be white, you're going to use the dodge tool. The dodge tool lightens. I always set it to highlights. So I'm actually working in opposites, using the dodge tool for the highlights and the burn tool for the shadows, and this will help you clean up those masks very, very quickly. Let's check those highlights now. 0. All set. Might want to do a quick double check, make sure you don't have any harsh edges, and keep in mind the more time that you put into making a mask, the better your composite's going to be, and the less time you're going to be putting into retouching the composite. So this is the time to be careful, picky, and very precise, because it's going to pay off later. Let me zoom out. Gotta look at the layers palette. So I have a high contrast black and white image on a layer, which is actually what a mask is. But I need to transfer the mask into the background layer. Now background layers don't support masks, so you need to double click on them and turn them into a normal layer. The difference being background is written in italic and you have the lock. When you double click on it, it turns into layer 0. Of course you could rename it and it'll support a layer mask. So I'm going to load the luminosity of this layer. That on a Mac, Command Option tilde, on a PC, Control Alt tilde. The tilde is the little squiggle key next to your number 1 on your keyboard. Turn off these production layers and click on the mask. Now this isn't a problem. Obviously I want the girl to be visible and not the background. As you can see, all I have to do is image, adjust, invert, and she is beautifully sitting on transparency. Look at all this hair detail that I've maintained. Little strands here, here, all throughout the back of her. Very, very nice. Now to see how well this mask is working, I'm going to drop a water file right behind that little girl. Just take my move tool, drag that over, and I just need to put it underneath that layer, and we can start seeing that all that hair detail has been maintained. Alright, now if I move the water, you'll actually see the water changing. And it's going behind her hair, etc. Now I see a little glitch right here. That must have been because my path wasn't accurate enough. But step 5 of my masking strategy is refine the layer mask. So I'm going to take a small hard brush, and if you ever get confused, should you paint with black or white in order to reveal more of the image, I always look at the layer mask. That gives me the answer. So I can see wherever the mask is white, I see the little girl. So that means I should be painting with black, because I want to see more water. I have to be a little more careful than I am. And there we just get rid of that little piece of the strap. Okay. Now, you can also sample some of the surrounding mask. Do you notice there's a little difference here in density? That was because I was painting with black. If you have a brush and you Option Alt click on the mask, you'll actually be sampling the real color that the mask is using, and your image elements will blend together much more nicely. There, that's better already. cut off a little bit of the strap here. So let's take another look at the file that Mark created. And it's many, many layers, but the most important thing he did was separate the little girl and maintain that hair detail, as you can see here. That's what makes that composite so nice. So, to make a good mask and a color image, think in black and white, and use the layers, curves and production layers to turn your color image into a high contrast black and white image.